we need more CRT, BLM, LGBTQ.
DRT, BLM.
It's actually what they're doing. Their little programs that they do is the opposite of what I'm describing here, except they're teaching that the Republic is bad, and that your duty as a citizen is evil, and that you must understand a way to destroy it and to subvert it. That's what they're teaching. They're not teaching, like, have you ever read their book that they call the Progressive Bible? It's called White Fragility. You need to read it. It's essentially Mein Kampf that's been flipped over. It's insane. If you read it side by side with Mein Kampf, it is the same fucking book.
And it causes so much fucking division. You don't learn shit.
It's not just it's the low IQ nature of it. It's the stupidity of it, which is really shocking because it technically dumbs you down when all you're talking about is white structural racism and the fact that the white man and white people and all, it is so toxic and stupid.
That's not actually what white fragility talks about, right? White fragility uses the whiteness and the racism as its hook to get the people to read it because they're already racist anyway. What it talks about is it says that the Republic itself is a structure that is synthetically created to pump out white people, that without it, white people don't naturally exist, and that it itself is evil because it creates white people, so it must be taken down. It literally talks about destroying the United States Republic because white people exist. Now, it uses white, again, as the hook, but the goal of its ideology is the destruction of the Republic.
And that's exactly what all these contracts at all of these agencies for multi-million, even hundreds of million, that's exactly what they're doing internally. So Doge has exposed not only Reuters as being a propaganda source and being extremely, it's propagandistic about what they did to Trump and everything else. So we have literally been funding our own desecration, destruction, and really destroying the future of this country internally, and it's Democrats that have been doing it. You can say some Republicans, see the problem with the Republicans is they are in it for themselves as well, and they're not calling attention to the fact that all this was going on prior to this. There may be some resistance if Kamala and Waltz had won, but the funding would have gone on irregardless, even if you call it out. So we literally saved ourselves from the most toxic experience and destruction and desecration ever, and we have to do everything we can to destroy these people mercilessly, savagely, and call them out, record them, document them. You know, the Jews have the Jew hate database of anti-Semites. We need to have the American racist anti-American database and capture these people who are low IQ and racists and bigots and propagandists and liars and thieves and scum and traitors. We have to document these people.
I like it when we play their game too. On the other side, you know, when we call them thieves and traitors and scum and stuff like that, it does great because as well, we do have to talk to the dumb masses. We do have to talk to the masses that are a little less, you know, they're not going to pay attention if you speak too intelligent. So you got to hit them with some buzzwords.
CRT, BLM,
LGBTQ.
The music is CRT. No.
See, the thing about that mantra is on this app, during the BLM movement of 2020, that's essentially what was happening, is it's low IQ vibration, a mantra of CRT, BLM, LGBTQ, DEI, LGBT. It is essentially a mind virus of being a pathetic simp.
As you've always said, Alan Watts has said it a billion times on this app, it's hypnosis, and I now see it so fucking clearly. It is factually hypnosis. It's the same way that when you train a dog and you say sit and that dog sits, they say Elon Musk and you think Nazi salute. You think South Africa, racist, apartheid. They have connected those words to them. Yes, but I mean, they're intentionally doing it. You have to be aware when you'll hear it on this app. The problem is it's like zombies. So when they're hypnotized, they then try to spread that hypnosis to others that are not hypnotized with the same thing. That's why it's a mind virus. It's a spreadable hypnosis state.
And also, James, if you don't buy into the rhetoric, they'll call you all types of names, racist, this, that, villainize you. Like when BLM first came out, like oh, what the not us, you're against us.
Well, it's like Justin said there in the chat. I called it a script, and it's very much like a script. And once they don't have the script left, they kind of just break off. Racist.
Yeah. It's just like what did those bulldog fat black women buy with all that money? They bought mansions in LA.
And they burned in the LA fires. Isn't that amazing how God works?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that I'm an activist, and when you come in a room and you just chant BLM, CRT, LGBTQ, DEI, what you're doing is reverse engineering the hypnosis because you're pointing out that it's a mantra, that it is a mind virus hypnosis that they are falling prey to. So you can try to help reverse engineer their mental illness.
Yeah, deprogramming is a very real thing. There are actually places that do deprogram liberals from college. It's a real thing that they have to do. There are places that are paid for it, and there are people who have testified as deprogrammed persons that have come out of that experience and been like, "Oh yeah, I don't know what the fuck happened. That was crazy."
That's me.
Yeah, I saw it happen in life.
I think the best way to understand it is to hold and read the Constitution and know that all of these agencies, all the money that they've been spending, that we have been working our asses off and getting taxed to death, it's a huge insult. When you go to work for 20, 30 years and you see how your taxpayer dollars are being spent, it's insulting, it's treacherous, it's deceptive, it's fraudulent, and I want to see arrests and I want to see prison sentences within the next 90 days. I want action now.
Mike?
Did the owners of BLM ever get charged or anything for that?
One Clubhouse user's in jail right now for setting up a fraudulent BLM nonprofit. Sergeant Major, Sergeant Major is in jail. He is technically what's an extremely white person called? An albino. He's an ADOS albino, and he set up a fraud ring, and he's in jail right now.
I hate race hustlers so much. That shit is sick.
LGBTQ.
CRT, BLM, LGBTQ, DEI, DEI, DEI.
CRT, BLM, LGBTQ.
Okay, my fellow.
Watching movies like Matt Walsh's movies, even though I don't really like Matt Walsh too much in his movies, you can tell they're very, very clipped and chopped up to create a narrative. Like the one with the chicken lady who's explaining the gender studies. Does the chicken have a spectrum of influence or whatever she's talking about? I don't even think she understands what she's saying. She just knows that these are the words she must say. Like the mantra that you're giving. She knows that she must say these words to confirm I'm part of the group.
Do you think this is just the tip of the iceberg and it's just going to get worse?
No.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if we already got to the tip of the iceberg. In Europe,
the problem.
I don't know really. I mean, in Europe, we have not gone to our tip of the iceberg, but I think that the tip of the iceberg, in your case, it was higher already than in Europe.
Well, the problem is when you deprogram them, there's two reactions. They either become deprogrammed or they become deeply embedded in the other side and become violent. And they become violently defensive of their ideology to the point where they see you as basically invaders in their minds. So that's the problem is, yes, it will get worse. These people will either be free or they will become crazy and do crazy things, such as, shooting at presidents, as we saw.
Alan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Trump is really the pinnacle now, at the top of the mountain, and shit rolls downhill. So we are in a good position, a much better position than we would have been if Kamala and Waltz would have gotten elected. That I would have left the country, I think. I think I would have given up hope, and I would have moved to Israel.
Well, when is another time other than the Civil War that we've seen Democrats talk about open secession of states? Usually they say that we're traitors if we said that about Texas, but now they are talking about it openly in opposition to the Donald Trump presidency. So it's like they are losing every value they have and becoming this fomented, rabid state.
Yeah, you got a point.
The problem is we are so broke in this country that we can't even institute new programs or protocols or procedures to essentially start re-educating our population. I mean, if you want to look at capital punishment and the fact that we're housing murderers and rapists and pedophiles and spending $100,000 a year holding them, we have to reinstitute capital punishment if we're actually going to get out of debt. We can't keep wasting money. We can't. We're completely indebted. And it is a 100-year journey to get out of this fucking debt. Chairman Powell at the congressional testimony the other day, he said that this is a 20-year run to get over the hump of the interest on the debt. Just 20 years to just get over the fucking hump. And that's if we do it perfectly, if there's no catastrophe. If there's no third world war or major natural disasters, that's like everything goes great and we got GDP at 5%. We are so fucked. And the fact is, Trump doesn't even want to talk about it because it would cause chaos. People would panic. If we emit panic into the communication paradigm, there will be panic. And there will be a run maybe on the banks. There could be a run on products, just like during COVID-19 with toilet paper. Why everybody thought they had to have toilet paper to wipe their ass, you know. Anyways, the point is this country, the thing is, we are still so great because everyone else wants our fucking dollars because their shit is so bad. You go to a third world country, they have nothing. Go to India and go to their major religious festivals and see 300 million people gathering and see how they do it. Literally, it's dirt. It is filth. So we still have it so good, and the fact that the world just keeps buying into this bullshit hypnosis, we're lucky. But the truth is, if we don't really slim and shape, and like what Ranks does here as a consultant, optimize, strategize, deleverage, leverage over, like we have to be so strategic and so smart. And thank God we have Donald Trump because, you know, he's not going to waste the money. But the thing is, I mean, we are really on ice, and it could whether it's going to crack or not, I don't know. But the rest of the world is already cracked. They're already below the surface, and we're still on top of it. But the fact is, when you see the fraud, waste, and abuse and bullshit racial identity, anti-American appropriations, or essentially contracts that we're going out with all these agencies, the contracting officers, the executive series in these federal agencies need to be arrested and held accountable, and there needs to be show trials, and we have to demonstrate to the American people that this is unacceptable and there is repercussions and you will be punished. Your life will be ruined if you're an anti-American person and you're destroying this country internally and secretly and subversively. We need arrests now.
And it has to be show trial, I agree, because it has to reawaken the pride that the Republic holds.
I don't know. What is the new head of the DOJ? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm coughing. I'm going to let you speak.
Guys like Alvin Bragg and those other lawyers, everything that they did to Trump needs to have them arrested. He really does. We can't elect a president who's not going to take action on these people because what they did is traitorship. They are scum, villainy, thieves, criminals. And the fact is, taxpayers pay their salaries. Taxpayers are going to pay their pensions. I want their fucking pensions eliminated and dispersed to essentially conservative charities. I want these people ruined, and we need to have these people ruined. Otherwise, no lessons will ever be learned. It'll just be all swept under a fucking rug. Trump's DOJ needs to actually arrest these people and through lawfare destroy them and make their fucking life savings disappear because now they got to lawyer up.
Yeah, and what they did to Donald Trump was not to Donald Trump. That was to the office of president. That was to the structure of our country itself. And that was a front against me and you as the citizens. That's why it's important that there are show trials. That's why it's important that these people do sit in prisons, because they can't get away with crimes that they did against the citizens. It's essentially, well, they did pardon a lot of people, and that's a problem. Specifically, the January Select Committee. They didn't just pardon the Select Committee. They have pardoned 1,000 staffers that worked with them too, and that's because these staffers hunted people down. They harassed them. They knocked on doors. They got people doxxed. They did a lot of crimes, and these people should be sitting in jails, but those people were pardoned. But there are a lot of people who were not pardoned that can be sitting in prisons for what they did. And that will make up for the pardons. But whoever was pardoned, a show trial negates that in the public eye. That's the reason it needs to be a show trial, because they've had equal power for a long time. And we need to show the world that they do not have power in a lawful justice system.
They cannot plead the fifth if they were pardoned, right? I mean, they can do a public trial or whatever, or a hearing, and they cannot, they're obliged to answer if they have
yes,
a
if they're
pardon.
subpoenaed. The pardon doesn't make it where they can't show up to court or anything. So if they're subpoenaed to testify
Yeah,
or
also they cannot
witness
plead
against
the
somebody.
fifth. Like, they have to answer.
You know, one of the problems also, I think, is the fact that when was the last time you ever heard of a general or a colonel or a lieutenant colonel in the military, whatever branch, actually in the news saying this is a patriotic American, this is a God-fearing, American-loving person? Like, you never see any publicity or press for anybody in the military. It's like they're completely separated from society. They have no involvement in our society. And if you look historically at all major countries, I mean, generals and colonels have saved those republics, have saved those democracies, or saved those countries. And so we have this
What
huge...
about the prosecution of Christians, too? That goes there as well, in that same...
I do disagree with the generals thing. I think if the president is the guy who's supposed to represent them, that's supposed to be our guy that we say, look, who's so democratic.
I mean, he's the five-star general. I'm just saying, lesser generals. Like, where... I mean, we have Michael Flynn on X. He's the only one. Only one. Do you know any others? No.
Yeah, as long as they're former generals, then they should be speaking out for sure and leading, publicity. That's like... But then again, on the other hand, it's like Mark Milley. I don't want that guy to speak at all. I think that guy should again be sitting in a prison. But I agree with what you're saying, that we should have some sort of influence from these people who've seen the things that we need to know about in public sector telling us, hey, this is what's up. Like General Flynn, Oliver North. People don't like Oliver North. I've met him a bunch of times. He's actually a pretty great dude and has a lot to fucking say. Iran-Contra is still fucked up. He's still fucked there.
These rounds are making me...
Well, what I'm saying is, like, why can't Trump take more drastic action as opposed to just sitting at a desk signing executive orders? I mean... where's the knockout punch? I want to see knockout punches every week. I mean, I know we think we're doing knockout punches because we're stripping these bullshit contracts from these agencies and saving ourselves hundreds of billions of dollars, but that's not enough. I mean, when Musk says...
No money's actually been moved or stopped or saved either. Doge doesn't actually do that. It's just an audit. They have recommendation power, essentially. That's the worst part. So... They flagged it and then recommended it over, and then it's been stopped after it was flagged and pointed out publicly. Which means if we didn't point it out, it was going to continue. So the people that were sending it out have stopped it. U.S. aid was closed down. That one is one that was closed. There's a few that were closed down on executive order, but not on Doge order. That's President Trump that does that.
So Musk says we can't let these agencies exist anymore because if we break them down, they're still just weeds and they'll grow back during the next administration. So, Trump is also firing a lot of federal employees and letting them go who are on temporary hold status. I think you have to be there for like 2 years or 3 years in order to get above the probationary status, which is great because, the Democrats stacked and stuffed a lot of incompetent people who are there for racial identity politics. So I don't know. I want to see purges. I want to see real painful purges because until we admit that we're $40 trillion in debt and we're not constantly analyzing the finance aspect and the accounting aspect, the only thing I have is US, debt.org. But if you look at the GAO, which is the Government Accountability Office, who are doing audits, and that is technically just Arthur Andersen or a Big Four accounting firm, because even yesterday, Chairman Powell said we are audited annually by a Big Four accounting firm. Okay, well, which one is that, and how much are they getting paid to fucking audit you? The things that Chairman Powell says is so crazy because it's so simplistic and stupid. You're like, I can't believe he can get away with saying this shit because it's like right out there in the open, and you're like, this is so stupid. Like, he's deferring blame. Every statement he makes is a deflection to Congress. And he claims he's independent, but yet he does whatever Congress says to do. The blame is on you, the people, not on the Federal Reserve. So I think, Trump also has to work to essentially get rid of the Federal Reserve and bring it in-house. The separation is in many ways, maybe it's the greatest thing or it's the worst thing. I don't know. But when I say there's not a speck of dust out of place in the whole universe, this is that statement in action, which is the reversal, which is Waltz and Kamala losing, and this is the truth that we are in a state of perfection and equilibrium because it constantly churns, the yin and yang and yin. It's constantly cycling. But when this cycle is over, we have to make sure that we do not return to the former cycle, that this is a positive change in the right direction, and we don't let these anti-American traitors get back into power to continue to decay, erode, and destroy this country day in and day out with their fucking scams and their frauds.
Imagine the world 2016, where Donald Trump did not run for office, where Hillary Clinton won, was president for 8 years, and now Kamala Harris was the president. Imagine the world that we would be in, the chaos and destruction that it would cause. Like, that world scares me. That's such a nightmare. It really does feel like Donald Trump saved us in the way that you said it. None of these people would be exposed. We would know none of their names. The people who worked in the Russia collusion, the woman that Eric Swalwell was sleeping with, the Asian spy, the connections between Joe Biden and China. We would know none of this stuff. None of this would be exposed. None of these bad actors would be known. They would be operating with complete impunity at this exact moment with more power than they ever did. It's actually crazy that Donald Trump came in when he did and stopped them, because they were at the peak of their power, and we're about to, I think, launch a siege upon the world. We did halt it. It's an amazing thing. The Republic stopped it. I don't know if it's God or not. I don't know if it's just that we're amazing folks. That might be it. I'm going to make the Jews mad. America is God's chosen country. Americans are God's chosen people.
I think a lot of the Trump hate is emotional. I really do. I think people write
It's
Trump.
programming.
Yeah, but you are emotional. You get emotional. People are emotional because they're low IQ. I mean, if you study philosophy, Stoicism, Taoism, any philosophy, it's about equilibrium and balance. And what these people have been doing to the country is plunging us into chaos. That is emotional instability. That is not balance or equilibrium. These people are liars, frauds, traitors, anti-American scum, and we want them arrested and punished.
Because the thing is, when I speak to a lot of people that write Trump off and badmouth him, and I ask them, why is that? Like, can you provide some concrete details? A lot of people can't really explain it, and it really sounds like it comes out of pure emotion and just.
I mean, is the IRS going to go after the former head of USAID, who's now worth $70 million on a $200,000 salary? We want actual action. We want audits of these people. We want to get these people punished and arrested and charged for fraud. I mean, and really the IRS brought down Al Capone. That's the one thing I'll never forget. On my first day at the job working at the Treasury, this 300-pound black woman brought me into an office and she said, "You know what we famous for?" I said, "What? Fucking over people and ruining people's lives?" She said, "No, we arrested Al Capone."
Whoa. And Redford, what you're pointing out is that if you go talk to liberals, it's a completely different type of conversation. Everything doesn't really make much sense. It's all feelings and crybaby shit. Donald Trump is a rapist. Donald Trump's a felon. Well, if you listen to the conversation we're having over here, this is advanced stuff about the structure of society and how we should run it. It's like there's a clear difference in the two populaces and the ability that we have to run a society in general.
I mean, look what Elon Musk is doing in Germany, and he's about to flip Germany with the AfD. And it's only because we are back in control of the communication paradigm that we can actually reverse hypnosis these people out of the bullshit. If X wasn't bought out, and in fact, he has turned X into a profitable platform, one of the princes from Saudi Arabia, one of the richest one of them, he said Elon Musk turned X around. Twitter wasn't even able to really turn a significant quarterly profit. So The fact of the matter is communication is the most important aspect of the entire situation. And the CIA, the FBI, the Democrats were controlling censorship 100% across all major platforms. So conservatives, Republicans, and patriots were completely blocked from the communication. And that was extremely dangerous. And if it wasn't for Elon Musk, we would not be in the situation we are in. And I just love that, a lot of people have to deal with their own emotional instability and their emotional equilibrium now because of Elon and because of Trump and because of what's happening. And so, in many ways, they are like very shaky now. Like for the next couple of years, their lives will just be in disharmony, which is good. But that means because they are off foot, we have to go on the attack and have to push hard. So, I'm going to basically run for Congress here in Chicago and try to push out a bullshit rhino. And this is what we have to become, is essentially rhino hunters, because after you get the rhino, then we can go after the creatures in the swamp. And Trump is technically, in many ways, he is like a swamp creature himself, because he has played this game of getting free handouts from the government. But hopefully, I think Trump has essentially transmuted into like the next level where after his assassination attempt and after the Doge auditing, he does see the thing is it's all about information and intelligence. And so Trump now actually has the information and the intelligence to not only transmute and change himself, but change the whole outcome of the destiny of America. He does believe he has a mandate from heaven. He does believe that after the assassination attempt, God has a plan, and he is a part of that plan. So we are in the best of times and the worst of times, but we have to make sure we never return to just the worst of the worst times, which is where we were going and where we are still probably now.
Yeah, I do wonder if the Democrats regret how hard they went with their strategy. I think now that they understand, I was saying it in the very beginning, when Donald Trump actually first lost in 2020, I was like, I think that Donald Trump needs to lose this. People were like, why? I'm like, because if he loses, then we'll have 4 years of them and horrible, horrible policy. And Donald Trump, I'm sure they'll try to do a lot of things. I was like, but he'll come out on the other side and he will be invincible. I didn't expect for him to come out so invincible with gunshots going past his head and everything, mug shots. I didn't expect him to go so far. They went further than I ever expected. And he came out and he now is very literally what I would say invincible. There is nothing that they could say, levy, or do against him except for blow him up literally that can stop him at the current moment. And it is a worrisome thing in one hand because, there's the delusion of grandeur, but then it's very real experiences. You can't argue with what happened to the man. It's the difference between a crazy man like Charles Manson who had nothing happen, claiming stuff, and then Donald Trump saying, hey, I am the president. I did have these things happen. I'm going to do the fucking job and do it good. I do believe that has inspired him in a way that will lead us to a proper place in this country, and not just that, but the globe. And that means that we will get these people in prisons. That means that we will get retribution. There will be justice, and there will be people who face the justice for the crimes that they did against this republic.
The problem is the big.
That's why you see people like Zuckerberg and Bill Gates.
The big problem is
trying to avoid that justice because they did participate 100%.
Yeah, Zuckerberg's definitely it.
I'd love to see Letitia James thrown in the can. That's somebody who I really despise.
I say that, but I really appreciate. Which one is she? Is she the New York one or is she the Georgia one?
No, New York one.
Okay, never mind. The Georgia one. I do appreciate the guy in Georgia who brought Donald Trump down there and made him drive through I forget they call it Rice Street in Atlantic City, which is like the ghetto, and he drove straight through the middle of it with his giant motorcade. I think that they don't realize what they did. It gave Donald Trump a gigantic boost.
Hey, Concrete! You come to talk in the dumb people room?
Where he went to go do that at. And I still hear about it today. Like, oh yeah, Donald Trump was going down Rice Street. So the Democrats, they thought they were going to have like a perp walk, and instead they got like a king escort. It was amazing. Yeah, their whole plan is falling apart because, like what you said a minute ago, we finally have a presence on the internet again with X, where we were held away and they thought they could just rule it all. Look at what happened with 2020. They were able to say that 2020 was not stolen and get away with it because they controlled everything. It was against the law, basically, to say that 2020 was stolen. If you said it anywhere on the internet, it didn't matter if you said it on Xbox, if you said it on PlayStation, on Facebook, on Twitter, even on here, you would be removed for election disinformation or whatever. Yeah, they went to straight war. They went to war. We are at war. We have to acknowledge that the enemy is firing all their cannons and all their guns, and we have to fire back. That's the simplest way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, like, it's a big gulp moment where you're like, oh my God, like, we were literally about to be run over and crushed and killed, and the country was about to be forever ruined. I mean, run by trannies, run by ruthless propagandists, and just low IQ shit. So I mean, literally, when you have to essentially, and like what Musk says, it's not just about getting rid of the bureaucracy, it's about getting rid of these agencies. They are outside the confines, the charter and the scope of this republic. All of them. The only fucking agency in our Constitution is the Census Bureau. That's the only one, and that's a statistical gathering organization. The IRS, the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, and the 450 other agencies that employ over 2 million people in this country, even the Army, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, the Navy, we have to trim down, slim, make it lethal, make it effective, and cut the bullshit. Because if we're just going to keep borrowing from the Federal Reserve, which is really technically a global bank, I mean, these central banks, I want to work at one because their pensions aren't going to go away unless we make them go away. Like, radical change is now, and Trump is the guy to do it, because it's finally transparent. It's finally out there in the open, and everybody's just like, what? The average taxpayer is just like beyond belief scared. They're like, why am I even paying taxes? This is crazy. Like, you guys are wasting everything on scams and frauds. So I want to see arrests, and if we don't see arrests, I believe that we should start instituting citizen arrests and organize citizen councils against radical terrorists, domestic terrorists, frauds, and scammers, because all these major cities are controlled by fraudsters and scammers. The city of Chicago is run by a communist fraud. Everything in society today is still fucked. And until Trump, in my opinion, starts using his best asset, which is loyal, patriotic military officers, fire all the fucking fraudsters, and get real patriots from West Point, from Citadel, from VMI, from the Naval Academy, put them in positions of power and have them start doing actual arrests. We can't keep letting taxpayers at the municipal level or the federal level keep getting desecrated and destroyed day in and day out. We want no more international regime changes until we have domestic regime changes.
Mike, you're there?
Everything that's been happening federally is also happening locally. All the scams and frauds, all the DEI, CRT, BLM, LGBTQ bullshit that is happening at these agencies with these fugazi scam contracts is happening locally, domestically, in every major city. It's rampant. Everything is bankrupt and broke. It really is true, but yet we just keep borrowing because it's fiat currency. So we have no morality, no ethics. It's all just frauds and scams, and it's profound, and it's everywhere.
You're right, absolutely. Mike, what are your thoughts on this?
Yes, Mike.
I agree that there's a ton of corruption going on. I agree that it's relieving to see Trump going after the waste and the fraud with Doge. I agree that there's fraud on all sides. I see Trump as a fraudulent person as well, though, So in my mind, I see it as kind of him versus them. It's government versus corporate interests, and I see him representing the corporate interest side. For anybody that's a pure capitalist and loves the system and thinks the more pure it is, the better off humanity will be. And I see how they think that he's a good guy and the government's a bad guy. I see them